Being just after 7 o'clock, I'm opening the regular meeting of June 4th, 2018 of the Foxborough School Committee. At 6:30, the executive session was held for the purpose of discussing wage contract negotiations for union personnel. Foxborough Custodial Workers Association and Foxborough Maintenance Workers Association. We now are about to begin our regular meeting. Are there any visitors who would like to speak? All right, so our first thing on the agenda tonight is to vote for the proposed 2018 through 2021 Foxborough Custodial Workers Association Agreement. I'll make sure I'm reading the right one, the custodial. The custodial workers will be receiving a 2% raise for the next 3 years. And the main other changes that were made were wording to become parallel with other contracts so that it's consistent. Would anyone like more explanation? All right, are we in agreement to, I will propose a motion to accept this.
Move that we accept the Foxborough Custodial Workers Association contract from July 2018 through June 30th, 2021.
I'll second that.
All in favor? We also discussed the School Committee and Foxborough Maintenance Workers Association negotiations, and their contract will also extend from 2018 to 2021. Once again, there was an adjustment to the wage in year one, and then in each of the 2 following years, they will be receiving a 2% raise. And they added one step, but they also deleted the first step because it was so low on the pay scale that we couldn't hire anybody at that. So both contracts reflect 7 steps for moving forward.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2018 to 2021 Foxborough Maintenance Workers Association contract.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. 500. We now have approval of minutes.
I have 2 minor changes.
Yes?
On page 2, approval of minutes for the special meeting. Chris abstained, so it should be 400.
401, right?
I'm sorry, 401,
Yeah.
yes.
And
also,
I believe Rich abstained too. So
nope, not for that one. He was at the special meeting at the library.
Oh,
the
the
second
regular
one.
one.
The second one, Rich and Chris abstained, so it should be 302.
That's right. Good catch, Marilyn.
And there's one other thing. Under other matters on page 3, the art festival had already taken place at Patriot Place. So instead of has, or scheduled for
Which
last
paragraph?
weekend. Under other matters, the first paragraph,
Okay.
page 3. It had already taken place.
So had been moved?
Scheduled for last weekend, had been moved from Saturday to Sunday.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
I didn't even catch that one, Marilyn.
Because that's a favorite of mine. It's the first one I've missed. And I felt horrible.
I have a question. Chris was nominated and unanimously voted to be vice chair, and here it says secretary. Now, sometimes on the school committee, it's been called vice chair / clerk. I do know that the town hall refers to this position as clerk.
It
And,
says clerk on the minutes, and it says vice president, secretary in the policy.
oh, well, which
That's
would,
why
which
it's a-
would we, I know,
We'd have to go by
You'd have to
policy
check.
versus, I would believe policy.
We can change the policy.
we can change the, I mean, it would,
So
be-
it's
it would be being consistent with what the
Selectmen?
selectmen are doing, if people are comfortable with that. I kind of like vice chair clerk, but they both indicate the
Exact same thing.
It's the
Right,
same
just
So
verbiage.
is there a feeling on the committee which they would prefer to have done?
Doesn't matter to me.
I'm fine with vice chair clerk, and we can always change the
Okay,
verbiage within the policy, so we're all consistent.
Right, that would be just one word change, without changing the essence of the policy.
All right.
I'm willing to accept a motion to have these accepted as amended.
I'd like to accept the minutes from the meeting of May 21st, 2018, to be accepted as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Gotta speak faster.
You get it next time.
It's a race to the second.
I'm gonna change that to clerk.
And now,
I think we're a little early for that.
I think we're a little early.
Well, we could move
But
to the
we-
next one if that's okay.
Absolutely, we can move to the next one.
Would that be okay?
I think it's highly appropriate. And just when, and then when Mr. McCabe gets here, we can slide him in.
The students weren't able to be here until 7:30,
Yeah,
so
that's
we're a little
okay.
bit early. If we are able to adjust the agenda, then we can.
Keep moving.
So, perhaps you would like to be next, Mrs. Burke.
Sure. Noelle, why don't you come join us up at the guest table?
Meeting her. Welcome.
Thank you. It is
Looking forward to
my
meeting you.
sincere pleasure to introduce Miss Noelle Hendrickson as the K-8 Math Science Curriculum Director, Foxborough Public Schools. She began on the Monday after April vacation, and she has not let her feet really hit the ground since she began that week after April vacation.
Was that because of Allison or because of her?
I would say both.
I was gonna say, Allison wasn't gonna let you be
No, no, that's not true.
I'll let Allison give you some more information about Noelle's background, but what I'd like to start off before I hand it over to Allison is to make some comments that I don't think that will be surprising with this committee, and that is having Allison in the role of K-8 Math Science Curriculum Director, some big shoes to fill. And that could be maybe frightening for some. And I have to say that with all of the work that Allison's done, with all of the teachers and the relationships that she has with the teachers, Noelle's already started to build those relationships with teachers, and they have been coming and saying how excited they are that you have joined our team. And the work that you have to pick up, and then your ideas of going forward, it is super exciting. And everyone's so happy to have you on board. And just to see the two of you with Allison already working together so closely, it's fantastic. So a great addition to the team. You'll hear more about her background and why what she brings. But I'd like to say on a personal level, you can see very quickly when there's a connection. And the connection has been made. Teachers are very excited to have you on board, and I think that speaks a lot to you already, and it's only been since right at the end of April.
Yeah.
So we were very excited to have you, and had a strong pool of candidates that came forward, and to have you join us, it's a win.
Thank you, Amy.
So I'll let Allison give more specific details.
So, welcome to the table.
Thank you.
You'll be sitting there a lot, over the years when you come to speak to school committee about different things.
Great.
As Dr. Berto said, we had our search in January, and it's sometimes tricky to run a search in the middle of the year. You're not sure what you're going to get in a pool of applicants in the middle of the year. And we were very excited to see Noelle's credentials come through. Noelle has been working in Franklin, which is one of our partner districts that we work with from the LSDO group. And she's been is it technically a coach, a math coach there, instructional coach?
Yep.
For 2 years, and prior to that, she was in Boston. And Noelle grew up in California, so she did her undergraduate work in California, but she did her master's work here at Harvard University, and did earn her master's degree from Harvard University. And in the last few years with her work with, it sounds like, oh, she's a coach. What qualifications does she have to be the curriculum director? But when you look through her resume, which I know you all have,
Actually, I didn't get a copy. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I believe it's in the packet.
It's in the packet.
It is, it's in
Yeah,
the
I
packet.
had 2 copies of the minutes, but I didn't get a copy of this, so, sorry to interrupt, but.
We're totally messing with you on purpose when you're so tired today, Tina.
It's okay, it's okay.
When you look through the
Thank you.
responsibilities that Noelle has had over the years, she has been clearly a leader, and that really showed in the interview process. She has led people through using their data and using data to inform the decisions at the school level and at the district level that she was at in Boston, using data to connect to improved instructional practices. She led her team through the adoption of the Common Core state standards and new curriculum that align with that. She has had lots of opportunities to model lessons, give teachers feedback, create pacing guides. Many of the things that I have done over the years in that role, she already has experience doing. She's a seasoned professional at giving professional development, which, as we know, that's something I did a lot of in the district, and I won't have as much opportunity to do that. So I'm so excited to have somebody so capable and so enthusiastic to step into that role. She also coordinated new teacher orientation, which again was part of my role. It was almost like, wow, it was everything that we were looking for and more. Coordinating the assessment coordinator and just having, above all, a fit. We really hire for, we want all the credentials, but you need to fit with our community. And it was very clear in speaking with Noelle that she brought the passion, the enthusiasm, the knowledge, and the personality. That's a challenging role because you have to deal with so many different types of people, and you have to get them excited and you have to get them on board. And having our team of math specialists, one of whom was on the committee, immediately have that connection was such a fantastic sign that, you know, it wasn't just my personal feelings, it was the whole committee. It was really a unanimous decision. So we had to wait a little while for her to get here, but I can say it was definitely worth the wait. As a bonus, Noelle's school was using STEM scopes, which the science side is something, when I came into this role, I had been a math coach previously too, and I had to develop my science side, which was very natural because I had taught science. And in Noelle's previous school, she had exposure to both the literacy, the science, as well as the math. So she had mentioned some things in her interview that she had done cross-curricularly that we have not done. And I always am looking for, and the committee, what will add value to our team. And I know that Noelle has already, in a couple of weeks, added value, and I look forward to the value that you will continue to add. And we've already got her on board with being a presenter at our Summer Institute, so there's no time to sit back and relax. So, welcome. Is there anything that I didn't say, or anything that you'd like to add to tell us a little bit about yourself?
No, I don't need to talk about myself anymore, but I'm just so excited to be here. I'm honored, honestly, to take over the role from you. It's nothing short of an honor, but I'm also very excited. This is a new challenge. This is bigger for me, and I'm so excited. I feel very ready, but Foxborough has been so welcoming. The teachers have been wonderful. It's great to get in the classrooms because the reason we're all doing this is for the kids, and it's been great because I've been able to get in the classrooms, and it's just been a really great transition. So I'm excited. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody have questions they'd like to?
I'm just excited to see what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very supportive group here, and I've always been encouraged and validated when I come to school committee and hear that we're on the right track. And
Great.
you'll see them again next year when we do our baselines and benchmarks reporting, and then we have our math curriculum review next year. So
a big one this
Noelle
year.
will be very busy, yes.
Thanks
Yeah.
for pointing out the cross-curricular too. That's really,
Very
and
important.
you guys, it sound like you hit a linkage there, cross-curricular, that's huge.
Yes, it is really
That's really
important.
excellent. It's not simple to do, I don't think either.
No, not at all. It really takes a skilled lens, and that was something
Yeah.
that came across. I think one of the areas that is not in my own personal wheelhouse as strong is literacy. It's just not an area that I've ever had to work really hard at developing because I've been math science for so long. And when Noelle brought that to the table and talked about a common rubric that she had, and maybe you could talk about it
Yeah.
better than I could, that
Sure.
would probably be better.
Sure. So in the last couple of years, we sort of looked at. I was a literacy coach too when I first left the classroom. So that I have a little bit of a literacy background. But so we looked at sort of argument writing, and we said, this is a shift for the Common Core. We want to beef up our argument writing, but we don't want to leave it in ELA, because really argument writing is through science, and social studies now too, and also in math, to be able to construct a viable argument. That's huge, and we see that in MCAS, but we also see it in high-performing classrooms when we put these kind of tasks in front of students. But we didn't want students to approach this argument writing and say, I'm in math, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm in ELA, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to think of it in science this way. We wanted a common rubric cross-curricular. So in the last 2 years, K to 5 in my building, each grade level team, we came up with a rubric for argument writing and math that was actually, we could put in front of students that was appropriate for their language and their development, but it was for, it didn't matter, ELA, math, and science. And so they were looking at, when we would come to look at student work, it was a student-friendly rubric, so the students were actually looking at it as well. But then the teachers, when we came to look at student work, it was just this common rubric about how do we approach sort of this type of writing, and how do we approach it through all the different content. And it was really great learning, not just for like students to sort of have that metacognition of how to think about this kind of writing, but also for teachers to say, geez, not only am I teaching how to write, and teaching students how to write, but I'm teaching them how to look at this type of writing and how that feels for teachers, developing item banks for those kinds of questions. And it really increased sort of like the teacher's ability to put better work in front of students, and to be able to judge that work. So that was really exciting. I loved doing that work because I think the more we can sort of synthesize all these different subjects together and see it all together is helping teachers and kids. So that was really fun.
To see how they're all interconnected.
Yeah, everything connects. Not just for
need
kids, but for teachers, everybody. Yeah.
everybody. Chris?
I saw in your resume,
Yeah.
you brought up Teach Like a Champion.
Yeah.
And that's one of
Yes.
my favorite teaching books out there.
Yes.
That and Dr. Wong's book, First Day of School.
We use those Teach Like a Champion techniques a lot in the charter school that I worked at in Boston. We had very young staff, teachers that were 23 years old, coming right out of teaching. We really needed them, not only to have we had to show them the content, but we also had to teach them how to teach. Young teachers, high teacher turnover. Those Teach Like a Champion techniques were part of the new teacher orientation that we ran. And we named those techniques as much as we could when, like, I would give, written feedback to teachers. But I loved that book. It was very inspiring.
My whole school did it 2 years ago.
Yeah. Those are great.
Noelle, actually, when we knew she was coming, but we were waiting, she texted me that she was having a great science PD in Franklin, and we made sure we ran out and made sure we got that person to come and do PD here for us. So even before she came, she was helping us
already-
affect change.
Yeah.
So we have that person coming on
Effective
October
change to
5th.
move
Yes.
forward.
And she was very excited.
Yes.
So now we're all excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teachers loved him.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Also, I think one of the things that you mentioned with next year being the math curriculum program review is perfect timing, because as you know, that's a time where we're really studying ourselves and looking at where our strengths and our needs and our recommendations. So she will become intimately familiar with all of our programs in a very deep way and all the instructional strategies in with the teachers. So it's going to be a great opportunity to be able to hear your ideas and what you bring to that committee, and then working closely with Allison because of being in that role in the past and where we've made shifts, and now to go back for where you ran the last one to see where have our gains been,
Yep.
and then where are we going next. So I think that brings a great opportunity too.
Yeah, good point.
Excellent.
Yeah, I will also say one more thing as we shift to Illuminate as our assessment platform. Noelle has an extensive history with assessment.
Okay.
And her husband
great.
also works in assessment, so we kind of got a
Yeah.
twofer on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really was meant to be. I couldn't be more pleased that we found, I feel like, the perfect person that we were looking for, so.
Thank you.
It's a relief, because that was like my baby, you know? So this is great. I'm so happy. You just let her do her thing.
We know you had a choice of where to work this year. Thank you
Oh.
for choosing Foxborough.
Thank you. That's so nice. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Us too. We're excited to have you.
Well, don't think you're going to slow down.
We don't do that around
No, I know.
Has there been anything that struck you since you've arrived, the short time that you've been here?
I have to say, the team that you've assembled in the math world, the math specialist team that's here is incredible. And I just had that job to some degree, and to sit with them and have this knowledge and this passion. I've just been really pleasantly surprised with that group of people. They're inspired. And then one of the reasons I wanted to come here was because I wanted to be inspired. I wanted to work hard and be inspired by my colleagues. And that team, the 3 math specialists at the elementary school and then the math specialists at the middle school, have been just incredible, absolutely incredible. I couldn't ask for a better team.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, I'm very happy. It's not always easy to come in this time of year, too. And it's funny because the teachers actually really want me in the classrooms because they're tired.
They're
I
winding
think, can I
down.
just come in and do this one thing? Oh, yeah, come on in. You know, like, so in some ways, that's great because it's been a good entryway in.
Yes.
Let me come in. Oh, please.
It's good on both ends, though, because students are starting to, their interest is waning, and then the
Well,
teachers are starting to burn out, and it's
And
like,
to have another voice
Yes.
come in, and it's somebody new, and
Correct.
they're listening to
It's
a
a
new
distraction.
voice. The teachers are like very happy to
Yes.
have that. So that's
perfect.
been really nice too. Yeah.
But it also really provided an opportunity for us as far as the timing and not having to wait for her to finish out the school year. We were very fortunate that we were able to work that out because now she has the opportunity to get to know the teachers more, to be in their classrooms, that familiarity, the students as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Allison, as she said, she's already presenting at the Summer Institute. To have that opportunity, and then more so to already know the players,
Right.
if you will,
Coming back in
so
September.
she can just really hit the
the
ground
ground
running.
That would have been hard to come in and fall. I think.
Around
Yeah.
here.
I think this is the perfect opportunity. It would have been hard to come in in the fall. Yeah.
And where we were juggling the 3 jobs, let's just be honest.
you're welcome, you're very welcome.
You didn't get here a moment too soon.
You were worth waiting for.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
Thank you. So nice. Thank you.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you. So nice to meet all of you, and I'll
You
be
also.
seeing you again very
Yes, you
soon,
will.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Enjoy your summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She wore Foxborough colors, did you know?
I
good
don't.
girl.
I know. She blends perfectly with the.
Oh, she was introducing herself.
No, they've been introduced already.
there you have?
Oh, yes. I made sure.
Okay.
Well, seeing as our students haven't.
I think they may be out in the hall.
If
Would you
our
like me to go?
Yes. Oh, yes, if they're there,
He
because
wasn't sure how many kids he could get to come.
Let me see what's going on.
because I was going to take another short item.
Okay.
They weren't going to be here. But if they're here, we will bring
Do the
them.
bike
5-minute
go.
one.
You could do the bike
What?
go.
Do a 5-minute one.
Do the bike go.
I know, but we don't, like, we wouldn't want to do start Amy's process.
do the bike go.
Do the subcommittee.
Well, the subcommittees, yeah. Will the bike go?
Are they there? Would you like to do BICO? Amy's reappointment to that?
Yes. Sure.
Are there any questions?
Okay, so this is an annual appointment, so as superintendents of a BICO, being a member of BICO, we are the board members for the BICO Bi-County Collaborative, and I will present to you quarterly their reports and some of the highlights and things that have been taking place. So I've started attending those meetings since January, and I was attending as an assistant superintendent their professional development committee meetings prior to that, so it's the same location but in a different role. And it's been really nice to see the other side and how that all connects together, from hearing from the professional development committee as having a part of that, and now being on the other side and hearing those reports. So that is an annual appointment that I need to have the school committee appoint me to.
Great.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the appointment of?
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Yes.
Wow. I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Dr. Burdos as a voting member of the Bi-County Collaborative Board of Directors for the 2018-19 school year.
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. 500. And now, the part of the evening everyone has waited for, our teaching and learning highlight.
So this is super exciting. We've talked here at this table about all of the achievements of DECA, and then even the most recent exciting news that we had in Atlanta, and wanted to have you come to visit and be able to really tell us about your experiences and about all of the accolades and really the overall experience that you had, because to have our awards that we received with our students really speaks highly of the work that you've been doing here at Foxborough High School.
Russ,
So
you want to give like the
welcome.
competitor's point of view?
They deserve almost all the credit because they did all the work. So, just to recap real quick, so we went to states and we had a first place team, a third place team, and a fourth place team, and then we also had qualified for 5 leadership spots. So we wound up with a total of 10 students who were able to go to internationals, which is the most we've had so far, and we basically had two more milestones because we had a team move on to finals, which is like the top 20 in their division. And then not only that, but moved on to the top 10. So they finished in the top 10, which so 2 more accomplishments that we haven't received yet. So I'm real proud of these guys and all the work they put in. Like I said, they should be getting all the accolades and highlights and all that stuff. So I'm going to let them speak a little bit about their experience and what they did there. And anyone wants to go first? Don't feel like.
Can you introduce
Yeah,
yourselves and tell us what year you're in, please?
My name is Russell Neal, and I'm a junior currently.
I'm Jack Ames. I'm a junior, but I didn't compete. I made like a geofilter on Snapchat, which is basically like artwork that represented Mass DECA, so kids could like use it on social media. So I was able to go to ICDC without actually competing, but I did some fun workshops and stuff where I got to learn about like doing DECA in the future. So hopefully I can actually make it next year.
I'm Elise Perillo, and I'm a junior, and I went to ICDC to attend the leadership conference with Jack, and there we got the opportunity to talk with like many different people from like different states, even different countries, and really learn about how we can improve our chapter of DECA and like new ways to like incorporate fun things that we can go to Atlanta again, or Orlando this time.
Yeah, and I'm Chelsea Gibbons. I'm also a junior, and I did similar leadership conferences, and it was mainly focused mine. I did a different one from them, but ours was focused on, preparing like emerging like DECA officers, so like we could like, better like lead our chapter in like years to come. So yeah, that was a really good experience.
It might be helpful for those at home just to kind of remind people what the DECA chapter is and what DECA is.
The way I look at it, I play football and tennis. I love playing sports. I look at DECA pretty much as like a sport for business. So it's just a competitive business thing. You have mock business scenarios that you're given, and you have to, you have 10 minutes or whatever to plan, and then you have to give your proposal to a judge, and you're competing against other people. So for me, that's something that I think is really fun. I'm a competitive person. Everything I do, I'm competitive in, even if it doesn't matter. So
That's good.
I think it's cool that sports are obviously a great way to compete, and I love those. But I think it's cool when you can compete in other things. So DECA to me is just competitive business. It's kind of problem solving.
Are you thinking of going into business?
Yeah, definitely. My dad does something in sales. I don't know what he does. It's confusing. I'd always kind of heard about business, and then I heard this club. I knew Mr. McCabe, so I figured I'd try it, and now I'm really considering like maybe next year applying to business school or something like that, just because it's such a fun environment.
I mean, it's super hard to explain to people because like even like when I first heard about DECA, I had like no idea. I'm like, wait, so like it's a huge thing. Like a bunch of kids just go to this one place. They talk about business or something, but there's like these. I don't know, what are they called? Like judges, where like you can go in pairs or alone, and everyone gets a category like based on like, I don't know, like a business aspect or whatever, and then they go in and basically you have like a mock experience with like a fake, I don't know, like boss, and then they grade you, and then eventually you end up at states and going to cool places like Atlanta. So
Yeah. So Jack and Russell talked about like the mock, like what are they called, role play events, but there's also written events where like you make a project before you go to the competition and then you like present it. So my group, I did it with my friend Amelia, who's actually the president for next year for DECA, but she couldn't make it. But our event was like a startup business plan. So we presented like an idea for like a new business, and we presented it to like a panel of judges, and they just like graded our presentation. And like, so there's also like that aspect. So there's like the role plays and then there's written events. Those are the 2 categories.
Yeah, I did a written event as well with my friend Ashley, who is also like a vice president, but she couldn't make it tonight. And ours was an innovation plan, so we had to come up with a way to make a business better. And actually our business was a school. And that's what we did. We prepared our event before, like made a nice poster and like a big long proposal, and we presented it. So that's what we did for ours.
I've had the pleasure of judging the presentations. I don't know if any of you were in the groups that I did over the Holiday Inn. But he's been doing this for 4 years, and kudos to you for even starting this.
I have to credit Mackenzie Anderson.
That's
so
true, Mackenzie.
She gets
Yes.
majority credit for pushing me to do it, and she got the people, and we did it, and I'm
How-
so glad we did, though. It's been a
How
great
large
experience.
was your club this year? How large was DECA?
We took, I believe, 38 kids to districts. We had more kids than that sign up, but some kids just didn't, either they had a project that they didn't complete in time, so they couldn't go, or last minute they couldn't go, they, or had changed their mind about going, or whatever else, conflicts came up. So I think we had, close to 50 kids like registered and signed up, and then we wound up 38 going, and then we had, I think, actually we had like 20 qualified to go to states, but it wound up only being 14 who went, because a few people couldn't go because of conflicts in sports and things like that.
Did you say it to Orlando next year?
Orlando is next year.
So
yes.
I think judges might need to, be
Company.
a company. Just saying. A little bit of a Disney addict, John, just saying.
They're always looking for judges for all levels. So.
Okay, just saying. You know who comes back area, just remember me.
Do you have seniors? Were there seniors among your group too this year?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, so this year I had all senior officers, and so next year would have been the first year with like all new officers, the first time ever, because usually we have always at least one person carrying over or two people carrying over from the previous year. So what was really great is the majority of the officers for next year actually went to leadership at international. So they know exactly what DEC is all about. They know what to do to try to get the chapter to be bigger and better. So it's been really great to have that that transition, but have it with people who actually get the whole big picture. So.
Bevy?
Certainly.
I think one of the most remarkable things about our DECA chapter here is not just that you guys have had so much success in such a short time frame, is that other schools, teach DECA as a class, and so it's one of your electives, and you're doing the work, for grades, but also for competition. And you guys are taking full course loads. You all play sports and do other things. And Mr. McCabe is teaching a full course load, and this is an extracurricular, and you have shown such dedication and passion and commitment to doing really well. I think it says a lot about John and about all of you as students and as competitors, and you do us all proud.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and I know a lot of the kids who are seniors in this year's DECA chapter, and many of them started with you 4 years ago and have really, excelled all 4 years. So they set a great bar, and you guys are just stepping right up to the challenge. So it's fantastic.
Thank you. A lot of credit is due to Mr. McCabe. He's really the guy.
Actually,
We know.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of credit is also due to not only like classes I teach, whatever, for content, but I think just the overall level of rigor of the schools and what they have to do in other classes for project presentations. So they got it from somewhere, and it wasn't like it just happened. So even though we don't have a lot of time to do like the preparation beforehand, I think they've gotten preparation through other things they've done.
Yes.
Which obviously by the
I agree with
success they've had.
right.
Were any of you guys business owners at Exchange City? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
I feel like it goes back. I always
always goes back
it
to
does.
Exchange
No, it does. No, it does. Absolutely does. Another one of my favorites.
You guys did like I was like a judge or something.
Oh, see, well, that's kind of a leadership.
Yeah, something like that. I think so. Is it?
Yes, I owned the post office.
Wow, look at
So,
you.
I mean,
You ran the town.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You
great.
guys shall be very proud of yourselves.
We're looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next year.
Are any of other of you going into business?
I
Or do-
plan on it.
You plan out to?
Yeah, I'm double majoring in film and business.
Excellent.
I am not.
That's okay.
actually.
You don't have to.
I'm
You'll have the
doing it.
business skills behind it.
No, yeah, I don't know. I do DECA because I think it gives me good presentation skills and it gives me good like practice, like writing proposals and like things
Absolutely.
like that. And it overall like makes you like better leaders, like with the workshops and stuff. Gives you like I go to a lot of leadership conferences like at Atlanta because I wasn't competing. I went to a lot of leadership conferences, so it gives me like experience that way. So that's why I do DECA, even though I'm not like interested in going into business.
My son did the leadership program with Ms. McCabe in Nashville, I believe. And he's in business, and he's the treasurer of his fraternity now. And he's got great presentation skills, and I'm sure it comes back to that.
Yeah.
So, I think you guys are fabulous.
Thank you.
Great futures ahead.
And I feel really old because my daughter used to babysit you, Juliet.
He's like, whoa.
Blast of the past.
Yes.
Long time ago. Definitely.
And Jack, are you Tyler's brother?
Yeah.
And I had
See?
Tyler, and he was
Tyler
in seventh
Ames, yeah.
grade. So how old is Tyler? Just make me
I
feel
think he's
really.
like 23 or 24. somewhere around there.
Yeah.
He's still living with us, so.
Well, tell him I said hi.
Well, he just got a promotion, so hopefully he'll be moving out soon.
All right.
I just think it's fantastic. I mean, the things that you've accomplished, but talking about what you're able to pull from it when you're not necessarily interested in going to business, the leadership piece and going to those workshops, and what you take from that is going to really impact where you go going forward. And I think, John, one of the comments that you made is a really critical piece, which is all of the presentation skills and all of the projects that you're doing in other classes, it really does help culminate into this, and it builds there. So to have the presentation skills to sit here this evening, or to do that at a competitive level with your peers. And I'm just curious to the competitiveness when you were in Atlanta with other schools, what did you see as far as when you were comparing what you brought to the competition from Foxborough as in comparison to the other schools, since it was an international competition?
I mean, there was a huge variety of different people that we were competing against and stuff. Something that I think, because of my schedule, I've never really been able to fit Mr. McCabe's electives in, so I've never actually been able to take the courses yet. I'm taking them next year. So my presentations are just we do a lot of presenting in English and classes like that. And I think we just have more of like a not relaxed, but just more comfortable feel with presenting. I think because we get to present so much in our classes, so you see these other kids who are all stressed out and they're very uptight, and they don't know how to manage their time or whatever when they're planning and all this stuff. So I think just being able to present so much in school for projects and stuff like that just makes us so much more comfortable doing it. And then we're pretty much all friends in the club. We had a really close group going. Just being in that environment with everyone helping each other, it just makes it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like at districts, when we competed, we would walk up and down the halls and see kids like their flashcards, like looking really stressed out. But I feel like we were really prepared, since like we did all these presentations. Like my partner and I were like, all right, like we can do this. Like just breathe and talk slow, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
Not easy.
It was definitely nerve-wracking, but I think all of the presentations we do in and out of like school like definitely helps like with that aspect of presentation.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were able to balance like also having a good time and also doing DECA, because that's part of DECA, just having a good time in like the city that you're in. So there were definitely a lot of kids that were just like Elise said, we're just like ready to go, like there for business, go in the room, like do their thing, and then do DECA. But we had a good time. So
yeah, I mean, a big part of a presentation is making someone feel comfortable with you. If you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to propose something. So I feel like that's something that we're definitely strong in.
Very good.
Kudos.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
We'll look forward to hearing from you next year, too.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Bigger and better. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Mr. McCabe.
Thanks.
You did a great job with that.
That's great. 50, that group has grown up to 50. All right, now, here comes our work project, school committee members. And this year will be an observation year and learning curve for Richard. He'll be partaking of it next year. So we are now at the review of superintendent's evaluation process. Dr. Barrett.
Okay. So this is a process that some of you are more familiar with. It goes back to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in 2012, actually. So it's a process that we follow with our teachers and all of our administrators. It's a 5-step process, so I have a number of things that are in your packet, and what I wanted to do was to go through and kind of do an overview of that 5-step process, and then call your attention to some of the things that are in your packet, and then highlight more specifically under goals and the 4 standards. So at this particular meeting in June, what we've typically done in the past with Debbie, as she was here, is to go over the process itself, and again, all of the forms and what it will look like next as part of this process. So again, it's existed for the last 6 years. If you look at the first page after the memo that I have here in your packet, that has the 5 steps. And so this begins with a self-assessment in the beginning, and then that self-assessment really is based on the superintendent rubric that's in your packet. It's a very lengthy rubric. It's the same length really as teachers, so we have 4 standards, we have a number of indicators and elements that really outline what proficiency looks like for the superintendent in this case with that rubric. And you take that rubric and you do a self-assessment to help drive the goals. But in the case of the superintendent, your goals as school committee also drive that process. So when we have the goal setting meeting in July, it's really important to hear your feedback as far as the district, and again, thinking of the strategic plan and all of the other initiatives that we have going forward in setting goals. So this school year, being that Debbie was the superintendent at the beginning of the year, as you know, we had joint superintendent goals. So I've been working on those joint goals and then implementing those goals as part of the plan throughout the school year. And then in February, I reported out about 6 weeks or so after taking over as superintendent, where I was in relation to those goals as part of the mid-cycle review. And at that time, that really, just to think back to that point, was looking at what was I really proud of, what was I working hard on, and then at the same time, what challenges I faced. So just to think back to that point in time, at that mid-cycle review, those things that I was, really proud of really was our staff. The excellent staff that we have, particularly working very closely with a number of them, with teachers and administrators on our bias and discrimination committee, where we're having very open and honest dialogue on conversations that can be conversations that might be uncomfortable for people. And I think that that's one of the pieces that's really true to Foxborough and our culture, is that we can work so well together. And that was something that I was particularly proud of, continue to be. We had our last meeting for that committee today, and you'll be hearing the report from that at the next school committee meeting. So again, really just the team itself. The part at the mid-cycle point was, what was I working really hard on? I had outlined at that point in time was working with so many people in new leadership roles. So if you think about the number of leadership roles that we have that have changed, and this was also, we'll connect to that first goal as far as a professional practice goal. We have a new assistant principal at the middle school. We have 3 new department heads at the high school. We have a new elementary principal. We have Allison, although not new to the district, but in a new role. Myself, obviously, in a new role. So we have a number of key leadership positions, and anytime you have a change in leadership, that can have a ripple effect and really make change again for all of those involved. So you want to make sure that we're supporting those folks, and I want to make sure that I'm doing that. So that was something at the mid-cycle point that I really talked a lot about, and we'll talk a little bit more as far as the goals. And then at that time, what challenges did I face? And that was really being new to the role, and I'm still new. It's still very new, being in the first 6 months really of the position, and being able to transition from assistant superintendent to the superintendent role at the same time as Allison was transitioning, and as we mentioned earlier, Noelle not coming on board until after April vacation. So the two of us really making sure that we weren't, dropping balls, or at least if we dropped them, that they weren't rolling away too far, and that we could pull those back. And it's really, I think, a testament to all of those that work in the district that supported us and continue to support us, that we're able to do that. So that was at the mid-cycle review point, and then now we're at the end of the school year, which is the summative evaluation, and then the evaluation that you do will take place in July, but we have a number of steps that will take place first. And that really is outlined as far as all of the steps more specifically in the first document that I have after that page, which is Part 6, the implementation guide for the superintendent evaluation. This is from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It outlines, again, the 5 steps of this process, but much more in detail. So I think, Richard, where you're new to this process, it will be helpful for you to have that particularly. Not that you will be participating in this part by being new to the committee, but what I'd like to say is I very much value feedback being new. So when I ask to meet at the end of this, as far as with individuals, I very much welcome to meet with everyone that's either intimately involved with it this year or as you will be next year, and then to be able to bring that feedback. So that document outlines all of the steps of the cycle very specifically. It also has the forms included from the Department of Education, which are the forms that we use as well. So you will see those forms that are listed in here. And then at the end of that, it outlines different responsibilities as far as the superintendent responsibilities, school committee. And then at the end of that document, again, it goes into some more specifics about goals. What is a SMART goal, et cetera. So again, that's just a nice resource to have, to be able to reference if you need to. The next document that you have is the actual rubric that I was mentioning before. What I think is particularly helpful here is that it gives a quick overview of all of the standards and indicators. So for example, that rubric at a glance that you see, it outlines what the 4 standards are, which are the exact same for teachers, as they are a little bit different when you get to, for instance, they're not the exact same, I should say. For administrators, they are, but for teachers, many of them are similar. So we look at instructional leadership as an example for administrators and myself, and for teachers, that would be more on the teaching as far as curriculum instruction. But there is a very lengthy document there that outlines all of the elements under the indicators of what the expectations are. The next document that you have here is titled Forms, and this is an opportunity that you can use to write on to make your notes as part of this process. But what's at the beginning of this document are my goals, and I've also put what has taken place so far to meet those goals. So you have that at the beginning of the document, and then each of the 4 standards is blank because that's your part, but to be able to give you my self-assessment on the goals is listed there. As we move on to the last document here, and this is where I wanted to spend some time as far as to kind of highlight some of the things that have been taking a lot of my time and energy this year. The first part here are the goals again. So my first goal, every educator has to have a professional practice goal, a student learning goal, and then with administrators, we have possibly district goals or other goals. So my first goal here is the professional practice goal, and that goal goes back to supporting the new leaders that I mentioned before. And it's really looking at how can I provide a smooth transition for them in their new leadership role as they transition into the leadership team that we have. And then, again, the role myself in transitioning into my role. So in addition to those that I mentioned, we also have a new METCO director, as an example. Jacinia Castro, who you've met here. So it's really important, as she's new to Foxborough, that supporting her in her leadership role as well. And then we have 2 new K-8 curriculum directors. So there's a lot of leadership changes that have taken place here. So I've spent a lot of time working with all of those different players, if you will, meeting with them individually, meeting with them through administrator meetings on top of meeting with them in smaller groups, looking at thinking really back to the book that we read, Leading Adult Learning, last year, and taking what we learned through that book study and thinking about those leaders that we have in the district and how I can support them with where they are and in what role that they come to us, and to support them in that way. The instructional rounds has been a great way to meet with them in small groups and individually as we get to know each other in a leadership capacity. And then also to support each other when we're looking at teaching and learning in schools, when we're calibrating with each other to see if we are at the same level as far as expectations, what we're looking for in classrooms when we walk together. So having myself in a new role, but others that are growing into their new roles at the same time is really quite exciting to be able to learn and grow along with them, and at the same time know that my role is there to support them in their new leadership role. The second goal, the student learning goal, that has to do with all of the work that we have done as a result of participating in the OECD test for schools. Specifically, working with the principals and the department heads along with the curriculum directors to analyze our results from that test that was given last April, and to use that information to improve all of our programs as we go forward, but at the same time identifying where are our strengths, but then where are our needs as well. So we looked at our strengths in math, science, and English, and then identified where can we go from here, particularly using the rubrics, because we know that that is looking at students at a global level and taking the information that we've done through our own curriculum program reviews, what we know about what's taking place in the district, taking those rubrics and seeing what actions we need to take in order to make them more globally competitive. That then has curriculum implications, so we've spent professional development days taking that information, looking at where, from the results that we analyzed before and reported back to you back in the fall, well, what does that look in the classroom? And what does that look like for our curriculum, thinking about it vertically, and at the same time looking across grade level and content areas. So some examples that stand out are thinking about math and science, and some of the very specific things that we see in classrooms when it comes to vocabulary. What we're doing in math and what we're doing in science might be the same thing, but if the vocabulary is separate, I think that that's something that we can really learn from and take, so it's not something that students think is different. It's really not. I think Noelle, when she talked about the rubric earlier today, and seeing that those connections, those cross-curricular connections, that's something that we also see that we can continue to strengthen in the work that we're doing. It's making a difference as far as our curriculum work that we've done through our UBD, our Understanding by Design units, and also impacts the summer curriculum work that teachers do over the summer. Also, part of that work has been participating in the Global Learning Network, professional learning communities, and that has been something that we have elected to participate in. It's not something that all Massachusetts schools, just because they participated in the OECD test for schools, it's extra, and it's more time and a lot more work, to be honest, to be able to come together through convenings with them. But we really saw that as an opportunity to learn from other districts that are participating and to see what we can learn from each other. So we also hosted in May the PLC for the Global Learning Networks, where we have been creating our own action plans that go back directly to what we've identified within our results of what we need to do and where we need to go from there.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say, I think that ties so directly into our strategic plan and the goal on global learning, that I love this goal and the progress that has been made here. I just wanted to pop that in.
And one of the things that really struck me in May when we were together all day and looking at what we were identifying kind of as our problem of practice, if you will, in our action plans to address that, we then participate in a consultancy protocol with the other districts where we present our results, what we're saying that our action plan should be as we see it based on the work that we've done, and then they provide us very constructive feedback to where we then listen. We have to answer their questions as they really dig into what we have stated that we're going to do as we go forward. So it's really valuable.
Yeah.
So we will continue to work through the OECD Global Learning Network into this summer. We will meet in July, and then we'll continue that work next year. Our students did participate again in April in the test, so we will be looking forward to having that data back to see how it compares in the past. And again,
Yeah.
the information that we take, we don't know what to expect, to be honest, because it's a random sampling of students that are age 15. So it's a really great tool for us to say, okay, how are we doing? And where can we continue to look to improve while also celebrating, the accomplishments of
It'll
our
be
students.
very instructive to see how this year's test compares to the testing that was done a year ago. I'm interested to see how they compare. And
It's
if
always interesting because
consistent.
it's a different cohort of students,
Well,
too. Yeah.
and such a random sampling,
Right,
though. But I think
exactly.
we were happy with the test results,
Right.
and it was a random
For sure.
sampling, and it's going to be interesting to see if it bears out this next
Yeah.
year. I think that it will.
I hope it
But it'll be interesting to see.
How long is the turnaround before you get that data back?
September, October, wasn't it?
It's the fall.
In the fall?
Yeah.
Come back in the fall.
It was like the end of September, wasn't it, last year?
Beginning of October.
Beginning of
about that.
October, yeah.
Yeah.
So, as far as looking at that goal and identifying it as met, it's met in that we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish for this year, but it will continue, as that is something that is a really important goal going forward. But I am very pleased with the work that we've done with our own people and across departments. District improvement goal was our technology plan. So back in January, we presented the new plan because we had ended a year early there. And that really was connecting to our strategic plan. So the plan itself was created. It lines closely with the strategic plan, particularly when you look at the objectives across those two. But we are fully working on implementing that plan. And that is one question that I did want to ask the committee, where we just implemented that plan in January. If you would like to see a progress to date at the next school committee meeting in June, or would you prefer to wait into next school year to give us a little bit more time of the implementation
I'd rather
of
wait
that?
and see.
I think there's
think
value
waiting.
in waiting over
Okay.
this, at least until the fall.
Okay. And because it is so closely aligned with the strategic plan, you're going to have snippets, if you will,
Right.
anyway, with the update on the strategic plan, because they are so closely
Right.
aligned. And then the last goal, goal 4, under other goals, that was to continue to implement our plan for the completion of the outdoor athletic complex at Foxborough High School, so that we would have a full campus. And so excited with the support of the community to be able to actually see that go forward. So we're looking at, as far as the 8-lane track, construction starting in the fall, Bill, correct?
Yeah, late August, September.
And then the concession stand and those things.
Will that follow?
No,
Which
the
goes,
concession
that'll be
stand's actually going to
prior.
start this summer. But by the time we get the final documents put out to bid, we won't be actually able to get a contractor online until the end of August to get moving, which, from a financial point of view, actually could be beneficial, because all of the push for most of these contractors is the summer work to be open for school. And as much as we'd like that, it's just physically not possible when you just get your money, voted in May. So, so it could work for us, that way. And
so as they're winding down for their summer work, we pick them up.
right, exactly. And that's kind of what happened with the turf field, and we had gotten very good prices on that one as well. So.
So I think that out of all of the community support that we had, and those that came out to the advisory committee meetings and spoke to the benefit of having that completed, was very helpful. And then again, at town meeting, having the support as well.
Well, that was
and those
wonderful.
who spoke too. So just really appreciative of that, and looking forward to seeing the completion.
I think
Bill,
Joan
just
has a-
to clarify, before we, so the track banquet is tomorrow night, and in case this comes up, if we break ground and start the project in August, will we have that track and the bleachers ready to go for the spring track season?
We hope so. The thing with the track surface is
Yeah.
it's weather dependent.
Right.
So if we make good it's a 4 to 6 week process for the track.
To
And
get
that
it
would be
out,
the first
yeah.
thing to be done.
Right.
But we really literally have to really hit that end of August start time because once you get into temperatures dropping at night, the track surface itself
You
won't
can't do
settle.
that.
So, yes, that's the intent. Otherwise, we would finish it in the spring with the rubber coating on the top, but
Okay.
do our best.
Joe, did you have a question?
Yes.
Joe Garrity, a student of Foxborough High School. My question was for Mr. Yukna. If we were going to start the work for the track in the bleachers and press box at the end of August, would that impact fall sports playing on the turf field?
Yes, it will.
They have to go to Payson or something like that?
Well, the athletic director has already been alerted to that, and he's trying to work with his schedule to figure out how to deal with it. But, as we kind of stated, it was no different than the not small, it was a little bit larger increase of an issue with the baseball and softball, where they were basically displaced for a full year. So, unfortunately, with every game, there's a little pain, and I think this is the problem, but, he knows it, and he's going to have to try to find alternatives.
Like Payson and Booth?
Whatever, yes,
And Ahern?
whatever options are out there, Joe.
Okay.
Okay?
Good question, Joe.
It's
Good
just
question.
Thank you. It's just like when we lost baseball and softball fields when the first spring on the turf, and then they cut all those trees down in the back, right? What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
So any questions as far as goals? Okay. So the 4 standards that are, again, on the rubric extensively, just the first one, instructional leadership. So that's really looking at to what degree the superintendent has effectively promoted the learning and growth of all of our students when we're thinking about teaching and learning. And again, I think that some particular examples go back to the instructional rounds, the OECD test for schools, and the work that I've just mentioned specifically. What I would like to call attention to on the OECD test for schools, so I talked about how we've developed action plans and we've done a lot of analysis with that work and what that looks like. So as an example here, to give you, when we look at, well, what does that look like specifically for us? So one of the identified areas when we look at, particularly in math and science, that action plan that I was speaking to is the problem of practice. How do we develop more explicit curricular connections to real life through sustained and relevant projects, particularly in math and science, to improve motivation, build positive relationships, and sustain or improve rigor? And I bring that out because that's really kind of our guiding question here and what we're looking at. We look at motivation and we look at student engagement. So the last 2 years we focused on instructional rounds looking at student engagement, and that has then continued to morph into what we did this year. And so we took the book as a study with all of those of us participating in the instructional rounds, and that book was by Chris Devani and Elizabeth Moe, and it was titled No More Telling is Teaching, Less Lecture, More Engaged Learning. And so our focus to take student engagement and what that looks like in the classroom was really to look specifically at instructional strategies. What are the engaging strategies? Look at what is motivating to students, to look at the percentage of time that is student talk versus teacher talk, versus collaborative work group. So those were our focus areas as we went together within our group. So I worked closely with the math and science department head here at the high school, looking specifically at engaging strategies and motivation strategies when we look across our AP courses as compared to our honors courses, as compared to our college prep courses. And is there a difference, and what do we see when we're going into the classrooms as a level of student voice, teacher voice? And that was really a great experience, having different content areas. And one of the things that I noted in here, when we were debriefing as a larger group, looking at what was the impact on us as leaders, because again, I wanted to go back to how am I supporting those people in their leadership roles, particularly if they're new to their leadership role. And it was really the dialogue that came out of all of that work and the culmination of that. When, for example, you would have one person, and I heard this across multiple departments, by going into a classroom that's not my content, I was able to focus on the instructional strategies and what was taking place in the classroom because I wasn't focused on the content. It was not their content. I see that as a huge win. Having others say, when others would go into my department or to go into my school, I wanted to make sure that exciting things that I see taking place, that they also see, because you want to be able to share those successes, but at the same time, you want to be open and have a trusting, psychologically safe environment where you can hear from your colleagues when they question things to where you're not defensive, but you're open to learning and improving. And that, I think, is the greatest part that has come out of that. It truly, I saw that as a professional learning community for us as a district. That's a passion of mine. It goes back to my dissertation. When you are in an environment and you can open yourself up and open your department or open your school to your colleagues and say, come in, learn with me, also give me questions that you have raised in your mind that we can talk about together. So that was a really important piece this year. At the same time, under instructional leadership, taking work that we've done that is a problem of practice, and it provides an opportunity for an administrator or someone else on the team to provide a dilemma to the group, to be able to get feedback on that. And again, to be open and to be able to listen and to answer questions, and for us to importantly learn from each other. That's embedded professional development.
Right.
We've taken time to take our evaluations and provide those by redacting names and calibrate that to see, do we have the same expectations when we're looking across? And so that we can learn from each other as we're being the instructional leaders and working with the staff in our departments or in our buildings. So those are some of the things under instructional leadership that we've been working very much on this year, and we will continue that work. But I think that really the culmination of that work that's come out this year is just, it's super exciting. The other part under instructional leadership is continuing with the findings, the recommendations out of our social emotional program review from last year, and working with principals and department heads and some other leaders in the building, which you'll hear about at the next school committee meeting, and Project Boomerang, which is web at the middle school and link crew at the high school. And it's one of the recommendations on how we can continue to support a culture of inclusiveness and mentorship and student leadership. So those are some other things that we've been working on this year. Any questions on Standard 1? So under Standard 2, which is management and operations, this is really looking at how effectively we deploy our resources to create and support a safe, effective, and efficient learning environment for our students and staff. There's obviously no priority that is higher than the safety and security of our students. And this year, there has been a lot, as we know, that has taken place. And although we always put safety and security as our highest priority, we've continued to be very, very diligent on the relationship that we already have with the Foxborough Police Department and the Fire Department, but to continue to reflect on what we're doing and continue to think about how we can harden access to our buildings and to strengthen our safety and security measures. So as you know, back in February, at that time, we had a joint letter that I worked on with the Chief of Police and Lieutenant Kelleher. We met with Alexandra, with a Foxborough reporter, to try to highlight some of those things. And again, we can't say all of the things that we're doing because that's the purpose in keeping our students and staff safe. But just the number of things that we were able to do, in addition to that, presentations by Chief Baker to all of our staff and all of our schools. So there was a lot that we continue to do and other things that we were able to add this year just in safety presentations. And again, continuing measures to harden access to our schools. Human resources, we don't have a human resource department. So a lot of personnel issues I'm very intimately involved in, and they can take up a lot of time. So it's important for me to be very involved with those ongoings, and I continue to work with our staff and our principals and any of those personnel things that arise. As far as the budget, when we look at that, working very closely with the town and through all of the budget process that we have, and obviously working with you and continuing to make sure that we're fully transparent with our budget as we go through that process to be able to have that support. And I think that we're very fortunate in the support of the town, but it's also the work of this committee and all of the work that goes in preparing that budget going forward. Some other specific things that have taken up more time is the school building committee, as far as with the Borough School Project. So being a part of that school building committee is something that we're very excited about moving forward as well. Did I miss anything so far?
No.
Okay. Okay. On an operations side, Family ID, which is an online registration, we piloted that this year. It's something that we're looking at expanding other uses for. So if you're signing up for soccer or football or any of those, that has been something that's been an efficient way to manage that process.
I can testify to that as a parent who has used it this year, and I think it's fantastic. It's a great tool for families to streamline the entire process instead of filling out, multiple athletic registration forms. It's all condensed, right? Once you sit down and set it all up, you're in great shape.
And as a coach, we've used it the last 3
Yeah.
years. It's great. If there's an emergency, you can pull it up right up on your phone.
Right.
And so just with that pilot here in the spring, people are seeing the benefits of that and wanting to expand its use. The third, should I move on to the third standard? Family community engagement. Many opportunities to engage with families in the community, whether it's the play this past weekend, which was Schoolhouse Rock, with the IGO students. They did such a great job. I went to the Friday night. I know Allison went to the Saturday showing, but just seeing our students in a different arena, if you will, and to see what they bring in a different role from the classroom to being on stage and the talents that they have. But going to those kinds of opportunities that are presented within the community gives me a chance to engage with the community, but to see, importantly, our own students really in a different way. So that's been wonderful. The school PTO meetings was something that was new this year for me, and attending those to be able to talk about the new role as superintendent and Allison's role as assistant superintendent, and introducing ourselves within that new role, but also hearing from them and just the questions that they have are really informative. So I think it's really important being out in those different meetings, as well as continuing with the evening coffees that we have, not that we have coffee, but our evening community conversations, the parent leader groups. And then there's a list of things that are here, but really being able to be involved out in the community, to hear what people are talking about, to hear the questions that they're asking, and then the best part is to hear about the awesome things they have to say about what's going on with our students. I think that it's really important to be very visible, and I have continued it from the assistant superintendent role and continue, because I take a lot of joy in that, and it really provides that different perspective to hear. Our community, with, again, the Foxborough Police Department, the relationship that we have, and with other community agencies in town, it just can't be said enough, the support of the community that we have and that they have for our schools. We're really fortunate. Standard 4, under professional culture. We have a very strong culture and climate in the Foxborough Public Schools. And I see that as a job for me to continue to strengthen and sustain that culture. And that's not a hard job to do with the people that we have here in this district. Just as you saw with Noel, as far as the new people that we bring in, all of the new people that are within their leadership roles, I think that that's what I hear over and over, is that people feel so fortunate to be in this district and to have the support that they have here. So whether it's the instructional rounds, as I mentioned before, and that collaborative culture that we have, and again, the open and honest dialogue that we have with each other, I think that really speaks to the culture that we have, and that people are willing to learn. And we're willing to ask the questions and learn from each other, and that really speaks to our overall professional culture in this district. And the last point that I'd like to make under that standard really is the bias and discrimination group this year. I think that really, yes, we're looking at cultural diversity and how that impacts our classroom, and looking very openly at ourselves of where we do well and where our areas of need and improvement and our recommendations are. But that group itself, really, our purpose is to assess our curriculum and our instructional practices, and how we are embracing differences, how we're preventing and minimizing racial, ethnic, cultural, religious, or gender bias and discrimination. And the last part that I'll say here is I had the opportunity this afternoon to hear from one of our students here at the high school who was looking at global citizenship and looking at our curriculum and how we promote cultural diversity. And she did a fabulous job, and in her presentation, all of the things she talked about and the needs within the curriculum are all of the things that we've been talking about as a greater committee. So it was so exciting to hear her. So as a part of that, I just might see if she'd like to come present from the student voice when we present the findings from this group, because they dovetail so nicely.
I think that's a great idea.
Excellent.
So those are the 4 standards. You have the information that's here. If there's any other information or specific information that you would like that I can provide you under any of those standards or any of those goals, let me know that.
If you are willing, would you please explain the change in the law of how this works this year?
Yes. So as part of this process, in the past, you can complete your individual assessments on the forms that are in here, and then you provide those to the chair, who will then compile a composite evaluation. What has been done in the past, that was put together and then provided in your packets before the committee meeting that we have in July. Prior to that, actually, if you'd like to meet with me, and I ask you to meet with me individually.
Yes.
So that I can provide any questions that you have specifics, or any questions that you might have after this evening, that I can answer or clarify anything for you, or any other documentation that you're interested in specifically. So I'd ask for you to make appointments to come in with me. And then after you compile all of your information, hopefully you have all that after meeting with me and all of this documentation, and you provide that to the chair. The difference is the composite evaluation needs to be done in open meeting, and that changed in April with a case that took place. So in the past, it would have been provided ahead of time, so you would have had the composite evaluation, but now it will be presented during the actual meeting that takes place in July. So you wouldn't have that ahead of time, just as none of us would see it ahead of time, and that's the difference.
And the, Bruce will be, because he was the chair throughout the year, Bruce will be asked, and I've given him the heads up, to do the evaluation. Now, I will be doing the composite, or he will be doing the composite?
No, you do the composite.
You're the chair now.
Okay, so in.
Well, I was wondering if that had been a part of the,
No.
Okay, so
new
so the
law.
current chair, even though he was the chair during the
No,
course of the
the
year.
current chair would do
the current
So
chair.
then you would put that composite together then, but you cannot share that beforehand. It would
Right.
be shared
That was
at
the
time.
essence of the decision, was the sharing of the composite evaluation prior to an open meeting. It was considered by the Supreme Judicial Court to be deliberating, not in an open meeting, because the collective evaluations of the committee had been shared outside of open meetings. So
But he would still provide information.
he can provide
he
information
needs-
directly
he
to
needs
Beverly,
information,
but then Bev puts
And then
it together, and then it gets handed out at the July meeting, so that we all see it at the same time, so we can take it, digest it, talk about it, discuss it. But Bev puts it together as the sit-in chair.
And could we kind of project a little bit of a date about when I need a,
Have the individual.
yeah, the individual come to me after you have spoken with Amy about them, each one of us?
Typically, it's been early July, but
Right.
it's really up to you. I mean, usually it's easiest to meet with the superintendent after the last day of school has
Right.
occurred, for everybody's schedule.
So, but July 4th is a Wednesday, I believe,
It
smack in the
is.
middle of this year. So what would be a convenient date? Because I need a few days for that.
What works for you, for your schedules, like for us to come in?
We
Work on it.
can work that out, whatever works with you
I
individually.
mean, whenever
and-
we finish,
Do we know when
go.
our July meeting is going to be?
We haven't
We haven't,
discussed
no,
that yet.
right, we usually wait till after graduation, and then she will poll us. And we can answer. Do you like to trying to keep it on a Monday?
Monday's fine.
Any preference? Okay.
Doesn't matter to me.
So, we'll,
Because you were looking at the 23rd, correct?
Right.
July 23rd.
July 23?
So if we had our stuff by the 10th, would that work for you?
That's late, isn't it? Give you 2 weeks to compile it?
The Monday after July 4th week,
It's fine with me.
okay?
Are you saying we have to be in to her by July 10th?
No, you
No,
have her, your stuff.
You,
Oh, to her. Have your stuff into you by July 10th. Okay.
or if you have it earlier,
Right.
that's always,
Right.
that's
So
always
the-
good
the
too.
last day for,
Because I have to be away part of July. I could schedule that after. So if you could have it to me by,
latest.
that would be July 9,
Oh, nice.
Monday.
Yep, that's my birthday. Correct.
Happy birthday.
So can I ask you a quick question? I heard this statement about you're not participating this year. Did I hear that statement earlier tonight?
Yes.
You don't have to fill out the forms, is what we're saying.
Thank you.
You will be present, though, at the meeting.
I kept going through, where did I miss this?
You're present, and that's what I was saying at the
Yes.
beginning here. I welcome very much to meet still with you, even though you do not have to fill out the forms.
Good,
So if it works for you, please come in.
good.
Because all of your feedback, especially being new in this role, it's very valuable to me as the new superintendent, and to have that opportunity to meet with you individually will be very helpful.
Well, I really appreciate that, because that was actually my first question when I got the packet. Having sat through as an evaluator before, I was like, it didn't make sense to me. And
Right.
I've been in 2
But it's-
meetings.
Bruce
I'm
is-
reading this whole evaluation thing, and I didn't think it was, so I'm glad. I'm actually relieved. It just didn't seem like I didn't know
No.
I don't know what the
No,
normal
it-
practice is across the company.
Well,
I
no,
was
but
thinking-
Bruce is still on the docket for the evaluation as his last service to Foxborough.
Thank you. Thank
a
you.
school
It makes a lot of sense.
And you're up next year. You'll be doing this.
It's all good.
But, I mean, this is, the explanation of this, Rich, and then watching us go through the process is a good learning.
Yep.
We should just clarify that our process, the one we've been using for the past 6 years, has been completely in accord with the advice that was handed out in 2000, whenever 6 years ago, by the Attorney General. And it's just this recent
It was just
decision
April.
in April that has made this change, that everything we've been doing has been in accordance with the Attorney
Oh,
General's
absolutely.
guide. I just wanted to make sure that that was out there. This
all
is
in
a
the
recent
regulations.
change.
It's
yeah.
all in the
educator
regular-
evaluation.
I thought
Right.
you were going to make us do it on baseline.
Oh,
We'll do that
stop.
to you. Right, it was just
Right.
As of April.
Very good.
So July 23rd?
Monday, July 23, our retreat meeting, and
I know Allison is
Is
on
that
away
firm?
vacation.
Are we polling? Are we gonna be polling, or is everyone
That was the
available?
only, is there another date you want to consider?
Well, not
Usually
everybody.
throws out a couple.
I
don't
know,
what
I know,
application is yet.
I know, somebody couldn't be there the 30th, if we did it for,
I can't do the 30th.
And I
Is-
can do the 23rd, but,
you
cannot?
no, I'll be on a cruise.
Okay. I'm not sure what our dates are yet. Okay.
I'll make it work.
I can make the 23rd work, you can make the
Yeah,
30th?
23rd will work.
You can make the 23rd work? Okay.
I'm working with another family trying to schedule a vacation, so I will get back to you on that.
Very good.
What's the timing of a retreat meeting?
We usually meet at
Six, I
6
think.
over,
Start a little earlier.
start a little earlier over wraps and a drink and have our meeting.
That would be
Iced
iced tea.
I was just gonna say. Or
And
water,
lemonade.
bottles of
Don't.
water. That sounded
Keep
bad.
him in suspense.
No.
Over
There's enough
beverage.
suspense
Iced tea.
when you're the new guy. There's enough suspense. Let's firm up as much as we can.
And we usually hold it at the chapel
And the reason for
on Mill
this,
Street.
this is our goal-setting meeting, so
Meeting.
it's really looking at what our goals are and moving forward. That's a big part of this as well.
And it's still an open, I mean, it's still a public, it's still
Right.
our
Yeah, yeah,
regularly
yeah, yeah,
scheduled
right.
meeting.
Which
It's
some
just in a
people come
different
to,
venue, yeah.
or come to at least part of it.
I'm with you. Gonna get the speed.
All right, are we all set to
Was
move
there
on?
any other information that you can think of now that you would like for me to provide for the?
I'm interested to hear about the Bias and Discrimination
I would
Committee,
too.
but that's going to be our next meeting. That is one thing that I was interested in hearing more about, and then I saw that you were going to discuss it next week, or in 2 weeks, so, next meeting, so that's really the only thing I can
Okay.
think of.
I'm not sure if there's a conflict. I know Bev can't be at the next meeting, and I'm going to a wedding in out of state that week. I won't be back till Tuesday, so I guess it doesn't matter if it's only 3 people.
No,
Three is
you-
a quorum.
you-
As long as it's
we-
quorum,
you-
as long as it's
As long
quorum.
as you have a quorum.
Okay.
3 is a quorum,
They-
and
3 is a quorum, the school committee marches forward.
Okay.
We had 3 last month or a month ago.
yep, you, me, and Bruce. So, yeah, no, we can,
I don't remember missing ones.
I don't remember where you were, but we need, 3 is a quorum, but we can do
Three
it
is
with
a
3,
quorum.
but you'll have something written that Bevy and
Well, we'll
Marilyn
receive
can
our
refer to, or you
packets
can
anyway.
watch the meeting after the
Yep,
fact, so
certainly.
we'll be
You
fine.
still have your
Okay,
packet.
Yeah.
right. Because I'd be interested in that also.
Absolutely.
All right.
Is the 23rd good for you? Because you would need to be there.
It'd be important that you would be there. Does that work for you?
I will be there.
Excellent.
All right, are we ready to move on to subcommittee
Oh, yes.
appointments?
Sorry, Bill, I was pushing you ahead.
Marilyn, you served on the.
Budget the last 2 years, which I really enjoy, so
Would-
if anyone has preferences, I'm very flexible.
All right,
I would
but
do
you
either.
still are interested in
I would like
that?
to do budget if I could again.
And Tina, you have done that too, haven't you?
I did budget last year, and I enjoy
policy.
that, and have background with the advisory committee, so I enjoy the budget, but I also enjoy policy, as you know, I've confessed that. So I don't mind, I can do either one of those
Okay.
things. I'm fine.
Anyone have strong feelings?
Well, Rich, you said you might be interested in the policy.
Just sure, that'd be great. I
That would
would.
be good. And Chris, you're willing for policy?
Yep, that
So
works.
you and I can do budget.
Then I'm happy to stick with budget.
Now, there's always one that nobody ever takes it up on, but you do remember that there has to be a school committee liaison person to the recreation board.
I thought that was you.
It ends up being me quite frequently. Would you like me to do that again?
Can
'Cause-
you as chair?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you
Okay.
can continue it, but if you're willing to continue it, would you like me to continue being
Well, I
the-
mean, you, both of you have done so well on the budget.
Yeah.
I would like very much
Sure,
to see you continue on the budget.
happy to do it.
And seeing as I've done policy about 14 years,
I was gonna say, you've been doing that mostly.
and the rec, I certainly think it would be appropriate for Rich to start learning a little about policy, and he and Chris are willing to work together on the
Oh,
policy
fantastic.
committee.
Yep.
So, and then I'll take
Rec?
rec.
That would be great. Do you want me, I'm assuming you still want me to continue as the
Well, that's,
representative
I
on the
was
school
going to
building
ask you.
committee?
Right. For the purpose of continuity, Rich, I'd like to see Tina continue on the Borough Project Building Committee because she's been there and it brings continuity. So I would like to ask you to do that
Yep,
too.
no, I'd happy to do it. I just wanted to make sure it's okay with you.
Oh, no. I was going to ask you because I think continuity.
Yeah.
It's going so well.
It's been 2 years.
I know.
Please don't step down.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that.
But
Thank
I
you.
think the stability that we show to the building committee is good.
Good group of people.
Right.
Thank you.
So, can we do this by consensus?
I think we have in the past.
We have
We just
before.
agree. We just agree.
All right, then I would like to appoint Marilyn and Tina to the Budget Committee, Rich and Chris to the Policy Committee, and they have appointed me once again to the Recreation Committee.
Thank you,
And
Marilyn.
we are asking Tina to continue on the borough project. for
School building
continuity.
committee.
Yeah, the school building committee for continuity.
Okay.
I think of it as the borough project.
Indeed.
All right, great. Now, we don't have too much, oh, Mr. Yukno, you finally get to speak.
Couple quick items. School buses, as you know, we go out every year based on the age of different buses. We are replacing 2 full-size and 1 of the 35-passenger buses. The low bidder is Dadco. While their unit price actually was higher than the other 2, their level of discount, or I'm sorry, trade-ins was higher, which gave them a lower net price. And, you know, so at the $229,375, they are the project low bidder for this.
Have we used them before?
Yes, actually, the 3 that you see listed here, New England Transit and Anderson, fight this out every year, going back and forth. Last year, Anderson won the 3 buses, and this year, Dadco probably has about half our fleet as far as the buses that we have. So I need a motion to
I would like to
accept.
make a motion to accept DATCO, the bid quote from DATCO for the amount of $229,375 for 2 new school buses.
3.
3, sorry, I saw the one underneath there, 3 new school buses.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500.
Budget update. We've been sorting through all the payroll changes, obviously, from last year, position changes, and any adjustments we made due to enrollments. So you'll see the largest increases in this budget really reside on the elementary level staffing of their teachers, ed assistants, tutors, et cetera, over the last budget presentation. Fortunately, what that's generating in a total salary surplus is $192,000 at this point, and but we are at a point of $23,559, which hasn't changed on reduction in our outside resources, but our expenses at this point are about $123,000 over what our budget was. Majority of that's actually happening in our facilities and plant area. We continue to try to obviously upgrade facilities and make sure that everything's operating as it's supposed to. So that's as much as, you know, it's not something we'd like to do, again, with 550,000 square feet of space that we're occupying, that's occupied 180 days full-time and year-round for a lot of different events. I think we're doing a fairly good job. We actually have modified next year's plant and operations budget to have more money in these areas because, again, the amount of cost that we spend on an annual basis, service contracts, you know, a lot of the stuff didn't exist in the past. We basically now make sure that everything that we have, whether it's fire alarm systems, generators, they're all going through normal maintenance, normal PMs and stuff, and that's important for them to last longer, quite honestly. So, but there is a cost to doing that on the outside, and I think, but again, I think we've kind of proven to the taxpayers that value is much higher than the value of having to replace. So we'll continue to move along that. We're still hopeful, as you can see at this point. We've got about a $46,000 positive effect. One of the large things that we are investigating and have been for almost 6 months is the replacement of the boiler at the Taylor School. As you know, based on the borough project, this is a rather long process to get through a school renovation. We were fortunate enough last year to be able to do the IGO school boilers. And if we could do the Taylor School, that would give us a comfort factor that it can make it to the time in which we may get to a process with that, just like we are with the borough. But thinking that we're going to make it 7 years or whatever the number ends up being without replacing those boilers is not really likely. So that's why we're going to try to take effect of it. Part of that money will more than likely come from some harvesting in the utility side as well, because we've been doing very well there, and we're obviously now into the lower cost period of the year. So if that generates, obviously one of the deals that we made with the town management was the rebates on the solar farm, which weren't really known at the time we were putting this budget together, have come to fruition. So what we have done is use those rebate monies to go back into utility reduction cost items. So whether it's been LED lighting, the boiler systems, and whatever, to again make it so that we save even more money as we move forward, but yet we have done exactly what the community wants us to do, and that is to make sure that we're maintaining these buildings efficiently. So
What kind of price range is a replacement boiler? Just a
well,
guesstimate.
the IGO, it will be less than the IGO. The IGO was, a total cost was just under $100,000, but we got $27,000 in rebates, so we spent about $70,000.
Maybe
So
it'll be less than that?
I think it's going to be pretty close to that, because I don't think the rebates will be quite as high, because it's not the same size.
To approximately 70K.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so that would be very good if we can get through that part of the process on it. We obviously have a few things in the education side that we're also moving forward with, and I think, so once we kind of filter through all of the final budgets, we'll have a better idea of what's available left.
Is the boiler at the Taylor oversized like the one at the IGO, where it was just producing way too much?
Well, it's two individually 1.5 million BTU boilers. The theory always was that one could heat the facility.
Yeah.
But the reality is, with the newer systems, a much smaller one can do the same as that 1.5. And if you do the same thing where you put two in, you have that backup system to each other. The IGO one actually runs itself. The first boiler will run, and as soon as it gets to a certain percentage, 60% of its volume, it kicks the second one on and drops itself down. So now they run at a much more efficient level. The highest we've ever had in that, literally, we had 3 million BTU units at the IGO. We got 3 million BTUs in total now, and we're not even getting to 60-70% usage as we go.
You saw our cost savings with the...
We didn't initially, because there was a lot of stuff we had to figure out on how these new systems worked. We're running still old pneumatic systems in all these buildings to control them. So it was a great model to get through and figure out all the issues we're going to have with this. And now going into the Taylor, we know exactly the different modems that motors that we need to change, and the electronics we need to change all at the same time to make it work well. But we should see a good 10 to 15 minimum savings, and hopefully higher than that.
Awesome.
So next. At the next meeting, you'll get another update. Again, that's because we'll give you kind of the list, some of the items that we're looking to try to get accomplished this summer, based on some of the, hopefully, other accounts that may have a few dollars left in them still.
Would you like a formal vote on this to be accepted?
Yep.
Rich, want to make a vote that we accept Mr. Yukna's, make a motion to accept Mr. Yukna's budget summary as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Repeat myself.
Rich, just as a point so you know, I think there are others do, but the reason we do this on a regular basis as we know more information is because it allows me to actually do the transfers between accounts. Technically, I can't transfer money from a utility account to a maintenance account unless the school committee is aware of what's going on.
Right.
So that's why it's a transparency thing, that you see that, okay, these are the adjustments that are being made, and what are we doing with the money, where it goes.
Thank you.
All right, on to acceptance of donations. The Jerry Royce Scholarship.
So many of you probably knew Jerry Roy as far as all of his contributions to Foxborough high school.
Just passed it. You're really
You,
close.
you,
Yep.
you passed it.
Just right there.
I'm just thinking back to him and just thinking about his college shirts and.
It's
Oh,
right there.
it's flipped college
Yeah.
shirts.
So we continue to receive donations here, which I think is wonderful. And total donations received to date, 19,132.
That's exciting.
Who won the scholarship? Was it given this year?
Yeah, 4 were.
Who did?
There were 4 given.
From this?
From this, yeah.
Okay. Do you know the names offhand?
I do not know.
Okay.
They will be in this week's Foxborough
I will
report, or-
look it up.
Oh,
I don't remember off the top of my head either, but they were 4 very different students who are incredible artists and very gifted. And Chrissy Buckley was there, and Kelly Arkatsha made a wonderful presentation. Chrissy, and I forget who else. There were a couple of his former students, Mr.
Oh,
Roy's
nice.
former students
Very
were there.
nice.
And his son, I believe, was there to do the presentation.
Kelly
It was
did a wonderful
very,
presentation.
very nice. And the students who, though I can't remember their names off the
I
top
will
of my
see-
head,
I will see
they're
if I-
very well deserved.
He was
scholarships.
instrumental in Juliet's
Yeah.
success, so.
And his wife did come to the Foxborough street painting fair.
Nice, very
And
nice.
I noticed in the line items here that the proceeds from the fair, which was someone's senior project, contributed to the scholarship fund, which is really great.
nice.
That is nice. So,
Do we don't have to do anything with this.
Yes, you have to.
no, we have
motion to
three
accept.
Two
donations.
donations.
3, the 50, the
Three.
409, and the 2,000.
Well, you know.
54, 9, and 2,000.
Oh, those are the newest ones, okay.
Yes.
Do
I'd
we
like-
need to do separately, do you think?
No, you
No.
can just
Do you
accept.
say the
Collectively.
person's name or just the amount?
Just, well, you could just say the total amount
But-
of 2459.
Okay. I would like to move to accept the amount of $2,459 into the Jerry Roy Scholarship Fund as, that's it. Gratefully.
I'll second.
We always have to say that.
With gratitude.
Oh, with gratitude, that's what it was,
With
sorry.
gratitude.
Oh, boy.
Gratitude.
You were really close.
It was gratefully, I was gratefully saying it.
All in favor?
Did you second it?
I did second.
500, thank you.
And this next donation, this one was one that
Very nice.
came in that had to do with our music program and just really knowing how extraordinary our music program is and hearing our students in Symphony Hall in Boston. And after leaving the building, Dale Anderson, who had heard our students, just really thought about some of the things that our students do and the things that they participate in. So this is for a music festival, and it's for let me just go back and read it. I think that would probably be the easiest thing.
You
There's
should.
so
It's
much
beautiful.
information that's here. So he talks about how he first heard our Foxborough Music Band many years ago at Symphony Hall in Boston, and then after leaving that and attending other festivals, continuing to think about the kind of music festival with a large band performing a piece like what our students were performing was unlike any he had previously experienced. And goes on to talk about that experienced is one word, but others would be talking about how it was just really mesmerizing and captivating. And soon he was surrounded by other musicians caught up in the musical universe that couldn't have imagined being created by high school students, really the caliber if you think about the pieces that our students play. And later learned about the dedication, the intensity, the drive, and the masterful teaching of Steve Massey. So now with the band being under the direction of Aaron Bush, due to Steve Massey's retirement, and continuing to wanting to support the outstanding examples of public school music education, he has donated money to go towards the entry fee for a Pulitzer committee for our students. And I'm not as familiar with the Pulitzer committee itself, but it is something within the music world that he felt strongly about and wanted to donate the money towards their entry fee. This is goes back to after experiencing the Machines, which was following the 2008 Kendrick Lamar Pulitzer controversy. He did research, and this was a band competition that had not won this prize in music. So it's for their entry fee into this. And I need to speak with Aaron Bush a little bit more to get more of the specifics. Unless, Tina, do you know more
No,
of the specifics?
I don't know more of the specifics. I was going to ask how much the donation is, because I think
was
we need
wondering
to
that
know the
too.
amount in order
Right.
to accept it. That was my first question, and assuming we accept the donation, who is going to put the nomination? I would assume it would be Mr. Bush or Cammie, but, and that they were on board with putting the nomination papers
Yes,
together.
so I need to
So it's
speak
a
more
very
for
generous
them.
donation.
It's $100 for
Okay.
the entry fee.
Okay.
So if they are on board, as I
Yeah.
said, I need to speak with Aaron a little bit more, but wanted to at least bring that forward to you to have the information.
Well, I think that's very exciting that somebody has donated, you know, to cover the amount, to cover the entry
So
fee.
if they're interested in moving forward to be able to accept that donation of $100.
Right.
It's probably to submit the piece, Dan.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's my
I didn't,
assumption.
yeah, I would
Right,
assume,
right.
yeah, that,
Which
I don't
happens
know
anytime
if
a
they
new
have,
composer world commissions a piece.
you know more about
Okay.
this.
This is your
yeah.
area of expertise.
There you
so
go.
please
I've
do
not, I've not
share.
submitted to Purlitzer, but if the Pulitzer Prizes, but yeah, it's mostly when a new piece is commissioned by a composer, then it's the next step with what happens with that piece, whether it's published or sold to a publisher or committed for prizes. So this, I'm sure that's what this is.
Okay.
This must be the entry fee to
is.
submit the piece into the
That was
Pulitzer.
That's what it sounds
Yep.
like.
Well, I'd like to move to accept the amount of $100 donated from Tanglewood Festival, a retired person from Tanglewood Festival Chorus to cover the entry fee by the Pulitzer Committee for our students. With gratitude. You a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah, the Pulitzer Prize in Music competition. You know, all in favor?
That's easy.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
500.
Richard, for that one. Thank you very much.
I think that's very exciting.
It's one of those we wanted to bring to your attention, but haven't had a chance to speak with Aaron on exactly what that would entail.
That's very exciting. All right, on to other. Would you like to, do you have some other? Dr. Baranos?
So I mentioned before the IGO School and their play this past weekend, Schoolhouse Rock. Talking about going back to your childhood and all of the tunes. I knew them all.
I know I do too.
So they really lightened up the stage. It really, I said it before, I know I'm being redundant, but to see them on stage and students and hearing from their teachers specifically, some that are more quiet or reserved, and to know them intimately from being in their classroom and to see what they're doing on stage, really. It's just, it's so heartwarming. Then class night was wonderful as far as all of our students and all of the accolades that were shared in graduation. Yesterday was wonderful, and I just can't
And
say.
also scholarship night.
Scholarship night, I
missed
mean,
that
we
last
had,
week, too.
$240,000.
Over $240,000.
$240,000.
64 scholarships, or
64 recipients.
64 recipients, yeah.
Just the
With multiple
generosity.
scholarships.
Right.
Some of them had multiple ones. And I think the number 107 was spoken yesterday at
109.
109 at graduation, which I think included all the other scholarships that didn't come through our venue. I mean, that's a lot of
Very
scholarships.
impressive.
So it just, our students, their speeches were wonderful and just continue to amaze all of us and all that they do and who they are and their message to their peers. And I'm so excited for them, for their next journey and where they go from here. I know they're going to do all of us very, very proud. Having graduation indoors, we had a number of people ask questions as far as indoors versus outdoors. So this will be 3 years in a row now that we've had graduation indoor. And we're able to seat a lot more people when we have it indoors. The number of seats for participants to attend increases by, I think Tony told me 500. Does that sound right? As far as the number of seats.
And the visibility.
I was gonna say better
And the
vantage point, too,
visibility.
for
In the last
people
couple
high.
of years, we've had so many people come up afterwards and say they prefer being in the gym because of the visibility, being able to have, it doesn't really matter where you sit.
Right.
If you're outside, you're beating in the sun, umbrellas are kind of constructing.
It would have been a little
obstructing
chilly for 2 hours yesterday out
the
there.
views, but all of our custodian and maintenance staff to get everything ready, they did just such a great job, and as my first graduation, it was wonderful. I mean, I've gone for the last 6 years, but to be able to be in a different role, it just really makes you proud, and more so of our students, and all of those going into the military and, you know, careers, and they have an exciting future ahead of them, so it's exciting. I know you have things to share too, but it's wonderful.
I just want to remind everyone, next week, next Monday, June 11th, is the Borough School 50th anniversary. It's the family picnic night, I believe, at the same time. Do you know what time it starts? Is it 6? It used to be 6.
The Borough School, the 50th, I think, their celebration is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh,
and
it
then
is?
the
Okay.
picnic, I believe, is at 6.
Oh, I need to write that
But
down.
I
Three.
believe
earlier?
I remember
the
3.
Borough
Okay.
School is at 3.
Is it 3? Because I had in my calendars 2 for some reason, but
Oh,
2?
what do I know?
Well, they wouldn't be done with school yet.
Yeah, I
at
wouldn't
2,
think so. I
So
wouldn't
so it would
think
have to be after the kids left.
I'm pretty sure it's 3.
You can double check
I will
on the
double check
time and
that,
send
right,
that out
right.
to you.
Yep, okay. And then the family picnic is on Monday night.
I don't know why I have
Yeah.
2.
Tina?
I ran in the inaugural Foxborough Cares 5K on Saturday, and Saturday morning, and I'm going to use the term run loosely. I ran, I walked, I finished.
That's all that
You
matters.
I finished, but I wanted to congratulate our elementary school running clubs. Were all very well represented there from all 3 schools, large groups of kids, and they fly. I couldn't keep up with those kids, but having done Taylor Trotters with my own kids for many years, I'm so glad that they have continued this program at all 3 schools, and the kids get so excited, and there's such a feeling of accomplishment, and I just want to thank all the teachers and the parents who do that with the kids. It was a great day, and I certainly also wanted to say graduation went, I thought, phenomenally. It was very exciting for me personally, having a graduate. I wanted to thank Sheila Sneed for all the hard, and everybody who goes the extra distance to make sure that the 10 million details that go into planning that event go smoothly. So I thought it all went wonderful, and I thought it was very special on class night that they had a special presentation to our former superintendent, Mrs. Spinelli, as a retiree. So, and also at graduation as well. I thought it was nice to recognize Debbie and have her there. So. There's lots of other things going on, but I think I'll stop there.
You okay?
I was just going to thank everyone for the graduation again. You said it very well, but in all my years trying to worry about graduations, it was so nice to just sit there and watch it, right? But the greatest thing for a town is the celebration. It's great when the students and everyone respects that celebration, because it's just so very important to the town. It's so much bigger than just the parents and the excitement and all the what's happening around it. It's a really big thing for a town. So it's great when it comes together like that. I think it's just wonderful. So thank you to everyone that worked on the graduation and all the preparation and the decorum of all the people. It's huge for a town.
Chris?
I spoke with Leah Kadula yesterday at graduation, and she let me know that National History Day will be coming to Foxborough next year. She'll have students participate in that. It's a great opportunity for her. I have students next week going for free to Washington, D.C. for the week as part of the national competition. Special Olympics was moved from Tuesday to Friday.
Correct.
Led by Joe. And also, I wanted to thank you for the senior walk through the elementary. I know we all received many emails from certain members of the community. It was, what I saw on Facebook with the videos, it looked like it was really a successful day.
Yeah, I can say my son really enjoyed it as well. That was a great day and a nice addition to their senior week activities. The kids really enjoyed it. The teachers enjoyed it. And thank you for getting it implemented. Definitely. I'm glad you remembered
Yeah,
that.
I'm
Chris.
glad you did. There were so many things going on that week.
I know.
I'm so glad it happened. So glad, and you made a lot of people very happy.
Well, I think to your point, the students, and I talked with students as they came off of the bus, and just listening to their conversation. Some of them, they're saying that, I didn't see as many teachers that I had, or, I can't believe, that it was like that long ago. And, it's like not that long. We don't see it as that
No.
that long ago.
Well, it is a long time for them.
But the high fives from the elementary
So cute.
students.
Very cute.
Yeah, those couple of videos online, it was cute.
It was, I've not heard one negative thing about it, just positive. I heard nothing but positive.
And we definitely
was good.
learned for next year how to make improvements from having this be our first year to.
So it'll run
visits.
even more smoothly.
Right.
Excellent. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Good night.
Give my pressure.